everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture. Happy Wednesday. I hope you all enjoyed the robot revolution. Time. It's great to have new Who to discuss. 4. It feels like ages since the Christmas special. Easter, so it's great to be back at it. Eggs. It's time for Easter eggs. Number 22. So the Doctor arrives at the hospital to track Belinda down, and I'm not sure whether this was an intentional nod on Russell T Davies's part or not, but did anyone else get major partners in crime vibes from these scenes? Specifically the fact that the Doctor only just keeps missing Belinda. It really felt like a callback to the opening of Partners in Crime, where the 10th Doctor only just keeps missing Donna. Honestly, it's a really funny idea, and I'd actually would have liked to have seen more of it in this episode. Number 21. So the Doctor is still looking for Belinda, and so he tries to ask for her home address at the hospital's front desk. Now, what's interesting about the receptionist that he speaks to is that this is the same actress who appeared in The Church on Ruby Road. She plays the woman pushing the pram who the Doctor encounters during the falling snowman scene. Now, we know that that snowman scene was actually a late pickup after Disney suggested that it would be a good idea to see the Doctor earlier in the episode, so it's actually quite likely that having just worked with this actress, they decided to reuse her in another minor role as they moved on to filming season 2. Or, you know, she might turn out to be the Rani or something. Who knows, honestly? Number 20. So we're still at the front desk, and the Doctor pulls out the sonic screwdriver to try and access the computer system. Now the sonic here is yellow, which is the third different colour that we've seen the 15th sonic so far. There's the standard blue version that debuted in The Church on Ruby Road, and then we have this pink/red version that's appeared in a handful of episodes as well. Now I initially thought that they were matching sonic colours to the time period of the episode, which was the case with the time vortex during RTD1. In this instance, if the time vortex was red, then the TARDIS was travelling into the future, and if it was blue, then the TARDIS was travelling into the past. Now, for the most part, this does hold up. The Devil's Cord and Rogue, both episodes that are set in the past, featured the red sonic, whereas The Church on Ruby Road, Space Babies, and Dot and Bubble, which are all set in either the present day or the future, all featured the blue sonic screwdriver. But then, The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death threw everything out of whack by featuring a yellow one. Now for this pattern to hold, I would have expected it to be blue in those episodes. So for now, it seems like the red sonic does feature in the past stories, and either a blue or yellow one for present day or future set stories. But we're going to keep an eye on this for the rest of the season to see if that continues. Also, did the Doctor just shut off the entire hospital's life support system here? And yes, I know hospitals do have backups. Lots of people told me that in the comments section of our discussion video. It was just a joke. Number 19. So the robots break into Belinda's house, they murder a poor innocent cat, and then they show her the star certificate that Alan gave her 17 years ago. Now during this close-up of the certificate, we can see that it was registered on the 5th of April 2008. Now we've already spoken about Partners in Crime connections to this episode, and we have another one here. The 5th of April 2008 is the exact date that that episode first aired. Now this was no doubt done on purpose, and could lend even more weight to the idea that the Doctor and Belinda missing each other in that initial scene was indeed a deliberate callback to Partners in Crime. Number 18. Sticking with Series 4 connections for a second, the certificate also reveals that Belinda's star is located in the constellation Orion. As noted by Wilfred Mott in the parallel world created during Turn Left, the stars in the Orion constellation all burnt out as a result of Davros detonating the reality bomb, which affects all parallel universes. Now it's interesting that there are a few links to Series 4 already, and it's even more interesting that there's a link with the Orion constellation burning up in the same episode where we're shown that the Earth, or at least its landmarks, have apparently crumbled. The season 2 finale is also called The Reality War. Could this connection to Davros and the reality bomb via Orion be significant? I told you in a previous video, Reality War just made me thought of detonate the reality bomb! Or it could be something or nothing. I guess we'll find out in 7 short weeks' time. Number 17. It's time for the first edition, folks, of Floodwatch, 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 Floodwatch. Last season we had Twist Watch, this season we have Flood Watch. Is Mrs. Flood going to be every companion's neighbour now? Now we don't get a whole lot in terms of helping us piece together the Mrs. Flood mystery here, but it is interesting how she sort of sends Belinda on her way like she knows this is meant to happen. It's not like she's overly concerned for Belinda's safety or worried about the robots in the garden. Now it's been apparent for some time now that Mrs. Flood possesses some form of higher power, and the fact that she's tracked down yet another one of the Doctor's companions, plus the return of those fourth wall breaks as well, only confirms this further. And we'll obviously be back with more Flood Watch next week, where we should hopefully start getting some more big clues and maybe even some answers. Number 16. After Mrs. Flood waves Belinda bye-bye, the robots stand her next to a big glowy lighty thing, and we hear one of them say, "Transmat initiated." Now, transmats have been a form of transport technology in Doctor Who for the past 50 years. First mentioned in the Ark in Space and seen in stories like The Armageddon Factor and Journey's End. Now, transmat is also shorthand for a teleportation device in other sci-fi stories as well, not just Doctor Who, although Doctor Who does use it a lot. Number 15. Russell T Davies peppered a few Star Trek references into last year's season opener Space Babies, and it appears that he's done the same thing here. So as the robots transmat Belinda away, she yells, "They're beaming me up!" which is surely a nod to the catchphrase "Beam me up, Scotty" from the Star Trek franchise, in reference to Chief Engineer Montgomery Scott beaming people back to the Enterprise. But here's a fun fact for you, because this famous quote is actually a misquotation. The words "beam me up, Scotty" have never been spoken in that order in any Star Trek series or film. Number 14. So we arrive on the planet Miss Belinda Chandra 1 and are immediately struck by the colourful retro futuristic design of the city, the throne room, and then of course the robots and the spaceship that they arrive in. This was all very much deliberate, as the overall look of the episode was heavily influenced by 50s sci-fi movies like Forbidden Planet and This Island Earth, the latter of which was a major point of reference for Russell T Davies, which the design team then took on board. Number 13. Polish, polish. I could not do this video without talking about everyone's new favourite robot now, could I? Now, I'm going to keep calling him Polish Polish, but this cute little guy right here is actually called Scoot. And like the robots and the design of the city and its interiors, Scoot was also influenced by that 50s look. Something I love, by the way. I love 50s style and fashion, so I'm living for all these references. Now, it was specifically designed on 1950s cars and hardware, which was revealed by prop art director Michael Van Kesteren in a behind-the-scenes video. The constant repeating of Polish Polish was also instantly reminiscent of Gadget Gadget from The Waters of Mars, which is an episode also written by Russell T Davies. Don't lie, it wasn't just me. You had the same thought as well. It was not just me that thought Gadget Gadget. Number 12. Queen Belinda is seated at her throne and is horrified to discover that the AI generator plans to turn her into a cyberwoman. And during the animation that follows, where we can see pieces of metal grafted to Belinda's skin, if you pay close attention to her finger, you can see that it's the wedding ring that serves as the power button for the machine that she would become. I think this is such a great little detail that subtly hints at the control over her if she was indeed married off to the AI generator, who of course we later learn is Belinda's control freak ex-boyfriend Alan. Number 11. The Doctor and Belinda are discussing the X-ray blankets, and the Doctor holds one of them up to his chest so we can see that he has two hearts. Now, this is not the first time that we've seen an X-ray of the Doctor. The third Doctor also received one after crashing to Earth in Spearhead from Space, and as you'd expect, the Doctors were baffled at the whole two-heart situation. Now, on the bottom right of the X-ray blanket, we can also see the Doctor's medical information, and it's about as vague as you would expect. Name, unknown, sex, unknown, age indeterminable, blood type NA, diagnosis 2 hearts, status excellent. At least he's in good shape. Number 10. Sticking with this X-ray scene and the Doctor's cheeky response of "Padam, Padam" when Belinda notices his 2 hearts feels like it might be a nod to one-time 10th Doctor companion Astrid Peth, or more specifically to actress Kylie Minogue, who in 2023 released a song called "Padam, Padam." We already know that the 15th Doctor is a Kylie fan based on his little dance routine in Rogue last year, so the reference even works in-universe as well as out of it. Number 9. The Doctor explains to Belinda that he's from a different planet before telling her that a mysterious he told him Belinda's name and that she would be important. Now underneath this scene you can hear what sounds like a little motif of Murray Gold's track This Is Gallifrey, which was used throughout the first Russell T Davies era whenever Gallifrey was shown or mentioned. Now it was also used in Space Babies as well during the early scene where the Doctor explains Gallifrey to Ruby.
They died. It was a genocide and they died.
The use of this music here could mean a couple of things. Of course, the Doctor is talking about his home planet, so it could simply just be a nod to that. But what if it also means that this mystery he is a Gallifreyan or a Time Lord? I mean, the odds are it was just the Doctor from the future, but we can't discount the possibility that other Time Lord characters will be involved as the season progresses. Number 8. He said the thing. Now I'm sure all of you immediately got this one, but I do have to mention it. Timey-wimey. The phrase was first used by the 10th Doctor in the 2007 episode Blink, most famously during the scene where he explains the complexities of time travel to a rather baffled Sally Sparrow. And since then, it's been used a few times, basically as shorthand for weird time travel stuff. Wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Now I already feel like Schwupp may follow in timey-wimey's footsteps, as in we'll all just say it to describe something weird happening. Anyone else get those vibes, or is Schwupp a one and done deal? Number 7. Throughout the episode, there are a few mentions of a fracture in time or a time fracture. Time Fracture was the name of the London immersive Doctor Who play/experience. Now here's the description to give you a rough idea of what it was about. A weapon of unknown origin destroys a small corner of Mayfair and simultaneously opens a rift in space and time. For decades, UNIT have fought undetected to protect the people of Earth from the dangers it poses. Now, I actually did Time Fracture twice, once with a friend of mine, and I also did it with the wonderful Sean Ferrick. In fact, it was the first time Sean and I met in person. It was such a wonderful experience. It was honestly a Whovian's dream come true. You know how you want to be in Doctor Who and press all the buttons and do all the fun things? That's basically what you got to do. But the story itself was really complex, really interesting. You went through all these different sets, and it did include Time Lords. I remember it ending on Gallifrey inside a Time Lord meeting room, and I believe it involved Rassilon being resurrected. I think Romana was involved in some way as well. So it really did tick every box in terms of making sure it included all of Doctor Who. It was an incredible thing, and it's such a shame that it ended as quickly as it did. I really hope they bring it back in some way. Now, honestly, I don't think the story of season 2 will be a rehash of Time Fracture, but it's still a fun little link, and it did make me think of it immediately as soon as I heard the words Time Fracture. It also feels very much like Russell just didn't want to say time crack or crack in time, because those are heavily associated words with the Stephen Moffat era, in particularly Series 5. Now I'm going to talk a bit more about Series 5 a bit later, because there are a few more parallels between that and what's happening here in Season 2, so stay tuned. Number 6. The Doctor and Belinda are shocked to discover that the AI generator is actually Belinda's old boyfriend Alan, who was kidnapped by the robots after Belinda inadvertently sent them after him. Now Belinda says that she thought Alan moved to Margate, to which he responds, Stargate. Now, of course, this is a nod to the sci-fi franchise Stargate, which began in 1994 with the movie of the same name, and then from there spawned a bunch of other movies and TV shows as well. My favourite? Stargate SG-1. Now we know that Alan is a sci-fi fan, so he's clearly a fan of the Stargate franchise as well. Now the Stargate itself is essentially a portal that allows intergalactic travel between two places, so it's good to see here that AI Alan hasn't lost his sense of humour at least. Number 5. So immediately after the Stargate joke, we see a flashback to when the robots kidnapped Alan. Now on the wall of his bedroom there's a poster for a fake film called Rocket to Venus. This is a clear homage to the 50s sci-fi films that influenced so much of this episode's aesthetic. This also reveals Alan to be a fan of those movies, which then further explains why he finds it so cool when the robots first take him to the planet. Also, if you take a look at that cast list, the first name on the poster, Luke Smith. Now this could be a reference to the Luke Smith from the Sarah Jane Adventures, or it could be a reference to the person called Luke Smith who actually works on Doctor Who. I mean, I guess we'll never know, but I'm going to say it can be whatever you want it to be, especially if your name is Luke Smith. Number 4. So after the Doctor and Belinda say goodbye to the robots and the Miss Belinda Chandra kind, the Doctor ushers her into the TARDIS with "Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go," for which he adopts a Scottish twang. Note how I didn't try and do the Scottish twang there. Now, as we know, Ncuti Gatwa was born in Rwanda, but he was actually raised in Scotland, which is where he studied drama and set out on the path to becoming the Doctor. So it's really lovely when we hear him slip into a Scottish accent from time to time. And this also works as a little nod to the long history of great Scottish actors who have played the Doctor. Number 3. So when the Doctor tries to take Belinda home at the end of the episode, we hear an unsettling, familiar sound effect as the TARDIS struggles to reach its destination. That is the same sound effect that we heard in the 60th anniversary specials and throughout season 1, a sound effect that we later learned was a result of Sutekh hiding on top of the TARDIS. Now this is likely just a reused sound effect to signify that the TARDIS is having a bit of trouble, rather than there being another villain sat on top of the TARDIS. But considering the involvement of gods in this era of Doctor Who, what if this sound effect is being used to represent interference from another member of the Pantheon? Maybe it's a different god who is stopping the TARDIS from reaching May 2025. Number 2. Speaking of sound effects that play when the Doctor is struggling to get Belinda home, this scene also sees the return of the cloister bell, also known as the WhoCulture Downs noise. The cloister bell was first introduced in the 1981 serial Logopolis and has been used many times since, basically to signal that the TARDIS or its passengers are in some form of danger. Number 1. Right at the end of the episode, we see that something is very, very wrong indeed, as a bunch of broken down Earth landmarks float through space, alongside a calendar counting down the days until the 24th of May 2025. Now, aside from being the date of the penultimate episode of the season, Wish World, the idea of the universe falling apart and a particular date being highly significant feels eerily similar to Series 5. Now, in that series, it's the 26th of June 2010, the date of Amy and Rory's wedding. That's the date on which the TARDIS explodes and the universe collapses. On the whole, the timey-wimey mysteries set up in the Robot Revolution do feel very similar to Series 5. Time fractures and cracks in time, reality breaking down, specific dates, and a companion being at the centre of it all. Let's just hope that Russell T Davies can wrap things up as satisfyingly as Stephen Moffat did back in 2010. And now it is time for the quickfire Easter eggs. So first of all, that bench and lamp where Belinda and Alan are sitting really reminds me of that famous La La Land image where they're dancing outside Griffith Observatory and there's the lamp and the bench. Probably just a coincidence, definitely made me think of it. Now, we've spoken about the similarities between Belinda and Donna, but there are still parallels between Belinda and Martha, such as working in the hospital, the fact that she gets taken to another planet against her will in the first encounter with the Doctor. So there are some parallels between Belinda and Martha. We have Belinda's "Can someone tell me what the hell is going on?" which mirrors 15's first words, or near enough his first words, after his bi-generation in The Giggle. Now, of course, this is a very common phrase, but it does feel like there is a mirroring going on here between Belinda and 15. Now, when they are in the Undercity, we hear of a medical supply called Sanferric. Now, this is a very specific Easter egg, but everyone at WhoCulture had to double check the subtitles in that scene to make sure that it didn't say Ferric, as in Mr. Sean Ferric. And there you have it, all our Easter eggs for the Robot Revolution. Of course, if you haven't already, make sure you go back and watch our Ups and Downs review and the discussion between myself and Sean all about this episode. And stay tuned because, as with the previous season, we will have this same content coming every week for each new episode. So come back next week for the Ups and Downs for Lux, the spoiler discussion for Lux, and the Easter eggs for Lux. I've been Ellie for WhoCulture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.